Hello, good evening. So first off, my name is Amanda Fernandez, and this is my study guide video. So we're going to be going through some different teaching strategies, and this video one is not only a good study guide for me, but maybe for others out there that is trying to study for an exam or test that involves different teaching strategies. In this case, we're mostly focusing on teaching strategies for reading, writing, language, literacy, that kind of stuff for elementary school students. Although some of these, how can I put it? Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. Some of these practices or strategies can probably be used in older grade settings, but just know that most of these will probably be referenced more towards elementary school students. Okay, so let's get started. So the first one that I'm going to be going over is Language Experience Approach, or LEA. So first and foremost, where we see this, at least in grade-wise, we usually see this in younger grades. Usually preschool, kindergarten, maybe even first grade, and maybe early second grade. Let's see, what else? It's very good to help with language and teaching students not only how to read, but also how to compose a sentence. And also just teaching the structure of a sentence, like where does a capital go? Where do capitals need to go into? Where does a period go? Stuff like that. So a good example, that we can do, that I'm actually going to be using from what my professor taught us, is one way that we can use language experience approach is just by simply having discussions with students about topics that they find interesting, or reviewing either a story or even one example that my professor used, a field trip that the kids went on. So in this case, I want to kind of use his example because I thought it was really helpful in this case. So his example was, we took a trip to a zoo, and as the teacher, we want to see what our kids, remembered from the trip. So let's say we asked some students. So first student is Justin. Sorry, I'm going to come on this side real quickly. And let's say Justin, we call on Justin. He says, Miss Fernandez, aka me, he says, Miss Fernandez, actually, rewind before I get too ahead of myself. Let's say I asked Justin, what do you remember from our trip to the zoo? And Justin might say, Miss Fernandez, I remember looking at the tigers. And we can put, I remember looking at the tigers. And then we can always remember at the end of the sentence we put a period. So it's a crucial one that when you do this type of activity, you rewrite what the kids wrote, because one, not only does it build their self-esteem, but two, it makes them feel like their opinions are appreciated. Sorry, I'm looking in my mirror because I can see my camera. But that's kind of how you should remember, is that these are students, they're children, and they want to be, they want to feel important. So once you're done writing the sentence or writing what they said, you say, thank you, Justin, that was really good observation. And maybe you can also say, and you know what, I actually really liked looking at the tigers too, or something like that. So I know there's some big words. Sorry, I am a college student, so they probably might not say I remember or something like that. But obviously, if they do, write it down. Just write down what they're saying, because it's important with what they're saying. Sorry, I'm going to adjust my camera a little. Pull it back, adjust it a little lower. There we go. So, And you might want to do this with at least 3, maybe 4 students, but in this case, I'm just going to use 2 as an example. So we have Justin, and let's say we have Madeline. And we can say, Madeline, we can ask her, Madeline, what's something that you remember from our trip, from our field trip at the zoo? And Madeline might say, I liked watching the penguins. And we can say, okay, Madeline, thank you. And we can write down, I liked watching the penguins. And penguins is a big word. So obviously, if you see some really big words, we can say, you know what, that's a really big word. I'm glad that you're using big girl words, or, sorry, this is bad P. This is supposed to be lowercase p. So, but you can also point that out to the students too. Oops, Miss Fernandez used a uppercase P. She's supposed to use a lowercase p. Sorry. But that's just one way that we can start off this language experience approach. But then on top of that, now we get into the nitty-gritty, which is now we have the students repeat what their peers said. So we can say, okay, class, so let's read what Justin said again. And this is where you point, I remember looking at the tigers. Okay, class, let's read what Madeline wrote. I liked watching the penguins. So you can do that a few more times, because we also have to remember that LEA, with this type of activity, it's not just one day. This is like a week, maybe 2 weeks. So this goes on for a few multiple days. So you'll read the sentences a few times. And then another thing that my professor mentioned is once they've read the sentences a few times, then you can make what's called word cards. So I'm just using a blank piece of paper, and we can write down words. So let's say I put the word liked on here, okay, just for pretend. So liked is a word that the teacher, or in this case myself, wrote down. And we can go to the sentence and go, okay, now let's find the word liked in one of these sentences. Liked is in one of these 2 sentences. And we can go, okay, do we see a match? Nope, not in Justin's sentence. Then we can go into Madeline's sentence, and we can look and we go, oh, liked, and look, they match. That way, we're teaching them to find words, not only high frequency words that they might use frequently, not that I don't think liked is a high frequency word, but this is another way that we can teach them, oh, this word matches this word, and this word is called liked. Or also, again, reteaching them high frequency words, and we can also, this is also crucial, like, we can also put like a period at the on one of the cards and go, okay, let's find where the period goes. And, oh, a period goes at the end of Justin's sentence. Can we find another period? Oh, there's a period at the end of Madeline's sentence. So this is kind of what language experience approach looks like. It's a simple strategy to teach students, especially in younger grades, not only how to read, but how to say words properly, because we do have some students, they might be coming in, no English whatsoever, or they have a little English under their belt, and they might be saying a few words wrong. This is the perfect opportunity to teach them how to properly say English words, or even if you're a bilingual teacher, you can also do this in another language, like in Spanish, or I don't know, or Korean, depending on the native language that the students are in. So this is just one of the activities. Language experience approach has many activities, but this is one that I really like. And we just have to remember language experience approach is just a way to help students read and be familiar with sentence structure. and how to formulate sentences, and also to see how to see and spell words, and how to phonemically say words. So this is just some of the ways, this is just one of the ways actually that you can use this activity, or use language experience approach. I do believe this strategy is called sharing sentences, or I think so. I could be wrong. I might be making that up. But I really like this activity. This one stood out to me. Not only did my teacher, my professor use it, but I just thought it was a fun way, and we can make like a lot of fun games with it. And he even said that after all this, you can have the students make a book using the sentences that they wrote down, and having them draw pictures. So there's just all sorts of things that you can do with this activity. So I really enjoyed this one. And I'm going to be talking about next teaching reading through singing.